Shalom, family. Thank y'all for coming. I'm gonna give a shout out to the family that came in. Shalom, Monster Moshe, Sister Naomi, Aunt K Judah, baby. Say shalom.
Shalom. Hi.
Come over to the front, cause go ahead.
Shalom, everyone.
Mine. So today we're gonna be talking about the law. Mine. In order for us, to preach what the word say, we got to give a clarity or understanding of the word. And in order for you to know what the word say, you got to pick it up and read it. But not just that, you also have to have the spirit of the Most High, Allahayim, inside of you, in order to be able to understand what you read. Um, a family, she's on a live right now, and when she get done, I pray she come on in here and and speak what she want to speak about the word. So if y'all willing, without further ado, I go ahead and start preaching the word. So today we coming from Exodus chapter 20. I'm not gonna try to read all this today, but I'm finna let it read it for you. Amen. I'm not gonna move the screen either. But if you want me to, just let me know inside of the chat and I'll move the screen down for you. But I'm gonna let the audio play and put my picture up, and then we'll go ahead and get into the word. Alright.
Exodus 20. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of any thing that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor, and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings, and the lightnings, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed, and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off. And Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord said unto Moses, Thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, for if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon.
Amen. So we heard what Yah said out of his own mouth. He spoke this, and he also inscribed it with his pen, with his finger, on the stone. Amen. I want to share with you something that people will do when they believe that the law is done away with. Can you see that up there on the screen? This is called the Inquisition. And I want y'all to know something, and we're going to look that up too if Yahweh willing. The slave trade with the Spanish and the Italians, the Romans, Spain and Portugal, they was attacking a certain group of people who refused to accept their doctrines, what they call Christianity. Their doctrines, although they used the Bible, there was a way that they used it. They did not teach what the word said by understanding of the word. But what they did is they twisted the scripture. And let's read what they did. This article is about the Inquisition, which the Catholic Church, for other uses to see Inquisition, and okay, the Inquisition was a judicial procedure and a group of inquisitions within the Catholic Church whose aim was to combat heresy, conducting trials of suspected heretics. Studies of the records have found that the overwhelming majority of sentences consisted of penances, but convictions of unrepentant heresies were handed over to the secular courts. Secular court, you know how they say they got secular music, would generally resulted in execution or life. So the secular courts that it was handed over to was people like the KKK in them, which generally resulted in execution of life, imprisonment, you know, the police. The Inquisition had its start in the 12th century Kingdom of France. Now remember, the Inquisition had its start in the 12th century Kingdom of France with the aim of combating religious deviation, apostasy, or heresy, particularly among the Cathars, that mean black, and the Waldenesians. And the Inquisition courts, and I'll show y'all. My bad. Let me go back. All right. All right. Let's look at what they got for heresy. Heresy is any belief or theory that is strongly at variance with established beliefs or customs, particularly the accepted beliefs or religious law of a religious organization. A heretic is a proponent of heresy. All right? Proponent of heresy. Cathars. Catharism was a Christian dualist or Gnostic movement between the 12th and 14th centuries, which thrived in southern Europe, particularly in northern Italy, Rome, and southern France. Followers were described as Cathars, referred to themselves as good Christians. And click on that. Catharism, from the ancient Greek katharoi, the pure ones, was a Christian dualist, a Gnostic movement between the 12th and the 14th century, which thrived in southern Europe, particularly in northern Italy, in Rome. Southern France, followers were described as Cathars and referred to themselves as good Christians. So look at here. The Christians were from southern Europe and Rome. These Christian theory and theology came from white people. Followers were described as Cathars and referred to themselves as good Christians. In modern times, they are mainly remembered for a prolonged period of mutual conflict and religious persecution, sometimes regarded as genocide. Now, during the African Inquisition, the Inquisition in Africa, they was not taking over European countries by the Catholic Church, which deemed Catharism a heretic sect. Catharism emerged in Western Europe in the 12th century. Adherents were sometimes referred to as Albigensians and French city Albi, which the movement first took hold. Catharism was initially taught by ascetic leaders who set guidelines, leading some Catharist practices and beliefs to vary by religion, and over time the movement was generally influenced by Bogomils and the first Bulgarian Empire. So let's look up who is these Bulgarian people. First Bulgarian Empire, right here. So y'all see that Christianity was set up and came forth, and let's see what Christian doctrine does. All right. All right, so what I'm gonna look up, I'm finna look something up for y'all, and y'all gonna see what did Christians believe in? All right, what did Christians believe in? All right, curse of Ham. Can y'all see that? Curse of Ham. In the book of Genesis, the curse of Ham is described as a curse which was imposed upon Ham's son Canaan. Now, look over here. Okay. Which one of them supposed to be Ham? Mashpaka. Which one of them is Ham? Is it that one? Is it that one? Is it that one? Is it that one right there? What about them two people that done got married that's supposed to be Ham? Do y'all see Ham in there? Okay, I'm talking like Lil Bill used to talk early in the morning. Which one is this? And he'll get real quiet, and then he'll say something else. Now one of them is Ham. I don't see Ham. So if these people, if them not Ham, if if they not Ham, and if they everybody in the Bible, then what's the point of anybody else believing in this book if this book it's all white people. It's a Noah. So that Hamanaka right there supposed to be Noah. Who is that behind him? And a 19th century painting by Ivan Stepping-Vach. Who is these people that call themselves Vach and Sarmantov and all that? Who are these people here? Y'all see that? This is Christianity. We like they say, we gotta reconcile this. Now watch this. This is the curse of Ham theory. The reason why they had this picture up here, they said that that the devil and Yahushua were brothers. They said that the devil and Jesus and Jesus were brothers. And Jesus and the devil had a disagreement. So the devil and his seed were all turned black, like black folk. Let's read that. The story original purpose, they say mayhap no, have been to justify the biblical subjection of the Canaanites to the Israelites. So the Israelites were originally living in the land of Canaan. Subjection of the Canaanites to the Israelites. So they said that the Israelites were cursed to be slaves if they break the law, statute, or commandment in the book of Deuteronomy, and we're going to go there, chapter 28. Not Canaan. Canaan was not the one to be cursed with the curse that is written in Deuteronomy, chapter 28. We're going to go there. We're going to compare history, and I want to ask you, everybody in the front and everybody in the back, was who is these people that this is talking about, Canaanites to the Israelites? So they said that the subjection of the Canaanites to the Israelites. But in the latter centuries, the narrative was interrupted by some Jews, Christians, and Muslims as an explanation for black skin, as well as justification for enslavement of black people. So who was Christians attacking during their Inquisition? According to the curse of Ham doctrine. But in the latter centuries, the narratives was interrupted by some Jews, Christians, some Jewish, and some Christians, some good Christian folk, and some Muslims, as an explanation for black skin, for Zanja skin, for Kafar skin, for Cushi skin, as well as justification for enslavement of Negro people. Remember Spanish Inquisition, Negro slaves, Spanish Inquisition, Negro, el Negro, slaves. Similarly, some in the Latter-day Saint movement use the curse of Ham. So all of them, they branch of their religion, which Brother Phil called white supremacy. The branch of the roots of their whole religion is the enslavement of black people. Similarly, some in the Latter-day Saint movement use the curse of Ham to prevent the ordination of black men to its priesthood. So Negroes couldn't even be priests in their movement. So wonder why everybody in the Bible was painted Laban, white. Nevertheless, they was painted Blanco. They was not painted Negro, because Negroes, according to them, were cursed with the curse of Ham. So if Negroes were cursed with the curse of Ham, why do they have these white people up here in the place of black people. According to their doctrine in the 19th century, that's supposed to be white folk ruling over black folk. What do we see here with these pictures and with their doctrine? What do we see with the history? And what do we also see with these pictures? If everybody is white folk, and having black skin is a curse to have, then why don't they put the person that they put for Canaan black? Why don't they put the Israelites as black? Because they said that the Israelites were cursed there was cursed in the Bible as slaves. That's what the writers of the book said, that it was in slavery. Black people is supposed to be slaves according to them. The Negroes, the Cushi, which is their way of saying the N word. Nevertheless, most Christians and Jews now disagree with such interpretations. Now they disagree with such interpretation. Why did they come to this understanding? Could it be that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of the slave revolts and the Negroes now today who have awakened to their identity? Because in the biblical text, Ham himself is not cursed. Look at this. Because in the biblical text, Ham himself is not cursed. Ham, the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negro, was not cursed. And neither race nor skin color are ever mentioned. But that is a lie. The scripture mentions skin color. They was not cursed though because of their skin color. They was cursed for a real particular reason. So if the law is done away with, then slavery should not have happened. When did this debate start? The exact nature of Ham's transgression. I went up. The exact nature of Ham's transgression. And the reason Noah cursed Ham, nurse cursed Canaan, whom they say was not cursed, not even in the Bible. When Ham had sinned, have been debated for over 2,000 years. Now, question to yourself, when did Hamashiach die and raised from the tomb, Arimathea's tomb? When he was buried like the Egyptians were buried, because they, in the scripture, when Canaan seen the Israelites, he thought that they was his brothers. He thought that they was his brothers, the Mizraim. And what did they say about the Canaanite? Ham, the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negro. So the story original purpose was not to save people from their sin, but to enslave black people, Negro people, who are not descendants of Ham. Because Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negro. So if those who were enslaved, according to the Bible, they should have offices and things about themselves that will match who they are as a people. What were the qualifications of the priesthood before slavery? Shalom, Sister 007. Shalom, Chicky History Channel. All right. Let's see. What's the specification? So now, I'm going to go ahead and let this read to you. And you tell me who this matches. All right?
Deuteronomy 28. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head, and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee, and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with a sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look, and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labours shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
So we see the scriptures say that all of the fruit of your hands, all of your work, shall a nation eat up. That means that all of your labor, they will not pay you. They're going to use all of your labor. They're going to abuse you. They're going to take your animals from you, and you will have no rights. You will have no rights. This is why in the 1950s, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all of them came out, and Elder Farrakhan and all of them was speaking about rights and all these things, because you got to remember that the scriptures say that you will have no rights. Who had rights in these last days? Was it those white people on that picture that they put up for Shem, Ham, and Japheth? Because of all of them was the children of Adam, and they said the curse of Ham, and Ham is white. How come they didn't enslave white folk and let white folk work out here and these sons out here on all these countries? How come it wasn't white masons out here building up buildings? Let me explain something to you. They was religious masons. Our ancestors were real masons. They built up monuments. They built up churches. They built up that White House over there. They built up all of those monuments over there. You see that thing that's in Egypt? That what they call that thing over there? What our ancestors built up in Washington D.C. Every monument that you see, even the Egyptian monument, our ancestors built that monument up. You see that place over there that looked like it got a dome on top of it, just like it looked like over there in the so-called middle of the East inside of America. Our ancestors built that place over there that looked like it got a dome with a phallus on top of it. All of those buildings our ancestors built with their bare hands, and they did not get paid. They took our wives and they forced themselves on our wives. They raped our wives. They raped the men. They put men's on, they would tie the man's leg on one horse and tie another leg on another horse and take a whip and hit the horse and make the horses run one way and the other way and pull the men apart. They would take our ancestors, the men of our people that was trying to rebel and didn't want to work for free labor. They would take him and scrap him up, and they would buck him in front of all of the women and children and the men of the nation, whom they say was cursed with the curse of Ham. So they admitting to you that Ham is dark-skinned race of people. But they said inside of Zondervan Bible Dictionary, but Ham is not the progenitor for that Negroes is not the progenitor of Ham. Do you know that they said Africans sold Africans into slavery? They did not say whites was selling whites into slavery. So those people that was selling people into slavery had tribal names. Those people who were selling people, those people that was being sold into slavery had a sham. Their ancestor, our first, the ancestor of our bloodline tree, in fact, his name is Name. So the people whose name is name, the people whose name is name, has a name, just like every other nation on this earth has a name. Every tribe on this earth came from a man and a woman that had names. Amen. They made us give them free labor. Free labor is slavery. And when you have free labor as a perpetual slave, that is a chattel slave. In order for Israel to be Israel in these last days, they have to fulfill this prophecy of being a chattel slave. Now, was the Ish people chattel slave? No, because they said inside of the records that the Jewish and the Christians and the Muslims were selling Negroes into slavery with Christianity. The Inquisition was about catching Negroes, trying to force them to adopt the Roman Catholic Church religion. And those who didn't adopt it were killed, murdered, and enslaved. So the children were taken from the mothers and their bodies were left for the buzzards to eat. There was a funk all throughout the lands because Israelites' bodies were left for the buzzards to eat. When the scriptures say, thou shalt not eat any unclean bird, do you want to eat a bird that'll eat the corpse that lay out? Would you eat a bird that would eat your ancestors' corpse that's laid out in the Sahara? Would you want to eat swine that eat up doo-doo out of the Sahara? How can they say that the law was done away with? Why did they say is a better question. Right. Look at that. Yes, they did all of that. And the hate and cruelty towards highly melanated nations continue to this very day. That's right, sister. They also gave the children to white Christians to be raised. That's right. So if they gave these people who were supposed to be Canaanites to Christians who were white, and they said that Negroes were the lesser race and whites were the greater race, then was they enslaving white folk or was they enslaving Israelite folk, Negro folk? Who are these people? Every nation on this earth retains their nation's name. All except the people who are named after a man named name. We are Shemites from the lineage of Ya'aquabah. I will prove it to you in the scripture. At one time, they sent the children to Sao Tome, St. Thomas. The whites couldn't take the Africans' heat. Either died or left Sao Tome. Let me show you something. I'm going to show you where the name Africa derived from. Now, these are the lineages of the genealogies of the seed of Adam. All of them were separated according to their language and their nations, their countries, where they went, where they at. History and knowledge shows that we do not come from Ham, who's the Cushites, the Misraim, and the Put, and the Canaanite, and the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sapta, and Ra'amah, and Saptekah, and the sons of Ra'amah, Sheba, and Dedan, and Cush begot Nimrod. Now one of we ain't come from now one of them. Now look at this. Now look at this. Now this is the lineage of Shem. I'm going to show you who they was calling you. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eva. Eva. In the Ewe tongue, the Ewe tribe is named Ewe from our father Eva. Eva. The Ewes were named after Eva. Eba. And they also called them Igbos. Igbos. Unto Shem, which means name, identity. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Ibar, which is the oldest form to say it, the brother of Yapath, the brother of Yapath. I'm going to say this to you like I said before, not the son of Yapath. Ibar was a Ayash, a male. He was not a Asha. He was not a female, but Ibar had a wife. And Ibar had children, just like all of the rest of them. Just like Ham and Shem. Just like Ham and Yapath. Shem had a wife. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Ibar. What religion was people practicing stealing identities? Christianity. And in Christian religion, identity don't matter, but they're putting everybody up as white folk, enslaving dark-skinned people because they say that they are Canaanites. And unto Shem also the father of all the children of Ibar, the brother of Yapath the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem. Now watch this. The children of Shem, Alam and Asher, Arphaxad and Lud, Aram, and the children of Aram, Uz and Hul, and Gatha and Mash. Not MASH TV show, Mash. And Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Abar. That's Abar right there. And unto Abar, now watch this, go back up. Let's go back up. The children of Shem. Let's go back up. Unto Shem also the father of the children of Abar. The father of all the children of Abar. Shem is the father of all the children of Abar. Negroes don't descend from Yapath because they said they is the greater race because they white folk. They say they don't descend from Ham because Ham say he ain't black. And also history says he's not black. The scriptures don't say that he come from Shem. Ham and all his people is not from Negroes. The children of Shem. Alam, Ashar, Arphaxad, and Lud and Aram. And the children of Aram, Uz and Hul, and Gatha and Mash. And Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Abar, where you get the word Hebrew. And unto Abar, Igbo, where you get the word Hebrew. And unto Abar were born Eve, where you get the word Eber, where you get the word Abar, Abar. And unto Abar were born two sons. And unto Abar were born two sons. The name of one, Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Yakatan. Now look, there are two sons from Abar, from Eber, from Hebrew, from Igbo, from the Igbos, and the beginning of the lineage of Abar, of his line, of his tree, family tree, Abar's family tree, which means the Abar house. Before we became all these different nations of Abar, there were two sons. The name of one, Peleg. For in his days was the earth divided. When they say your name don't matter, they say your identity don't matter. And they say you don't matter. Because your name is you. Your name is your glory, your testimony. Your name is the memories of you, which make you not a person that got amnesia. And his brother's name was Yakatan. If names are not important, then why is they saying that we got only through the name of Jesus can a man be saved? They say you got to remember that name. Why they tell you to forget your name and forget the way his name was before they came and obliterated it. The name of one, Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. And his brother names was Yakatan. So during his days was the earth divided. So now in Northeast Africa, there is a sign up. There's a sign up that says about the world dividing. They call it the tectonic plate. This is how they know that Israel sit on the same tectonic plate. Because, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to go deeper into that. Watch this. For in his days, this is the line of Sham now, was the earth divided. And his brother's name was Yakatan. And Yakatan begot Armadad, and Shalaf, and Hazaramaveth, and Jirah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Dikla. And Dikla. Now look, Yakatan begot these children. Armadad, Shalef, Hazar, Maveth, and Jirah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Dikla. Remember, these is the Negro races because we don't come from Ham and we don't come from Japhet because they supposed to be the superior race and they white folk from Europe, from the north. So right here is the lineage of the only one you got left. And if this is not you, then you come from apes and monkeys like they said because they tried to claim who you is. Watch this. And Obal, and Abimal, and Sheba. Watch this. And Ophir, and Africa. And Ophir. Who had a son named Africa? Who had a son named Africa? Not Ham. Ham did not have a son named Africa. The name Africa did not come from Hamites. The name Africans does not really mean Hamites. The name Africans means Igbos, Hebrews. And Havilah, Ham had a son named Havilah, and Jobab. Now look, this is the line of Sham through the lineage of Hebrew. And Jobab, all these were the sons of Yaktan. Now notice, they didn't say nothing about the other brother, but he had sons too. Watch this. And the dwelling was from Misha, as thou goest unto Sapar, which means book, scroll. And a mount on the east. See, it's on the east. So Africa, Ophir, is in the east. These are the sons of Sham after their families, after their tents, after their Gullah, and after their Lashawan, after their languages. Lashawan. If he say Lashan, then it means one language. But when they say Lashawan, that means there's many forms of Abar tone languages. And the languages, wherever your language is, that's where your people at. But when they came in, destroying languages, washing people's mouth out with soap if they spoke their native tongue. In their lands, but they still spoke theirs. Hamites still speak their language. Who is these Negroes that don't speak their native tongue no more? In diaspora. In their lands after their nations. In their lands. So Shemites, Africans, had land. Now I'm not talking about Hamites. Hamites is not called Africans. They flipped the script on us. Now I'm gonna go and show you Ham. This is why we could call Hamites Africans as well. Watch this. Watch this. Sound like I'm double talking, don't it? But I'm not. Now, watch this. And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mitzrayim, Phut and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havilah, and Saptah, and Ra'amah, and Saptekah, and the sons of Ra'amah, Sheba and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Therefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh. In the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Ashar, and builded Nineveh, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah, and Raisin between Nineveh and Calah. And the same is a great city. And Masream begot Ludim, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Nephaturim, and Petharizim, and Kaluhim, out of whom came the Philistines, Palestinians, Capitorim, the Negro, the black Palestinians. Watch this. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Aradite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, the Kemetic, and afterwards were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. Now, why do I say? Now, I'm going to show you why. You see Canaan? What land did Canaan live in? Canaan lived in a part of the promised land. All right? In Libya. Canaan were the servants of the Negro race, not the European race at first. Canaan was a servant, and also it's prophesied that he would also be a servant of of Japheth. I go there too. And it say, and these are the sons of Ham. See that? So if they lived in the land, see, Hamites could be called Canaanites. Just like if a Cushite went and lived over there in Canaan and was born and raised there, they would call him a Canaanite. But that don't mean that he's from the line of Canaan. That means that he could be called a Canaanite. Israelites were called Canaanites because the land of their inheritance they called Canaan. That's why they called them Libyans, because Negroes lived in the land that white folk called Canaan. When white folk was enslaving black people, whom they called Canaanites, they was telling you who you are and where you from, but in a distorted and evil way, because they said that we were from the lineage of Canaan and not Yasharal. But I'm going to look inside of this Bible and let's see again if Canaan was the one that was put on slave ships in the last days when the nations got confederate. What nations got confederate? Was it? Who was it? Who was these Africans that was enslaving Africans? All right. They at one time they called everywhere over there, the east and in South Africa, all of the Africa, they called it Kush, the land of Cush. They was calling it the land of Cush. And in the Ashkenazi speech, Cushi means niggers. So they said that the whole continent was called nigger. Look at that. And Ophir and Havilah and Jobab, all of these were the sons of Yakatan. And their dwelling was from. So this is why the writer pauses on Africa. Look at this. Because that is the line. Watch this. This is the line. These are the sons of Sham, after their families and after their Lashawan, in their lands and their Arats, after their Gabayan, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Nach, after their generations, in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. Not no big bang and no worm crawling in the water and no monkey turning into no human. These are the families of the sons of Nach, after their generations, in their nations. And by these are the nations divided in the earth after the flood. Next verse. Let's let the reader read it.
Genesis 11. And the whole earth was of one language, and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
This is why in every nation they have a story. They got one they call Molech story. They got different type of stories about this event. This is why every nation on the earth has a story about the Tower of Babel. Look, this is when it was broke off at the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, and Yahweh divided the languages so that they wouldn't be able to understand one another's speech. So the Israelites had their own speech. The nations had their own speeches. Remember when Alexander the Greek, who ain't great, went throughout Europe, he was going to his kindred according to his flesh, enslaving, breaking them from their languages with Greekology to a certain. No, he wasn't doing that. He was coming and making them pay tribute to him, because all of the European just recently, some of their languages, is they saying that they are almost dead. You see that? They're losing a part of their identity. Now look at this. May not understand one another's speech. So Yahweh scattered them, but they know who they are. They know who they are. So Yahweh scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore, is the name of it called Babel, confusion, but Baal, because Yahweh did there confound the Lashawan, the Lashan, the language, the Lashan, not Lashawan, the Lashan. So everybody spoke Abar at that time. So when Negroes had their name and they had the original language. Their language and their names were correct. When old folk tell us, y'all need to stop doing away with the original, because all that other stuff is fake and phony. When they say this is real music, when they say when they say old time religion, when they say I'm gonna show you how the older folk did it, because they didn't like the new school stuff, because the old school stuff was better than the new school stuff. When you used to make when they made the Crisco back then, my grandmama told me that you could eat all the Crisco you wanted and you will never get sick. Your blood pressure will never go up. They said even to the tobacco back then was more clean. All of the stuff, brother, you was talking about earlier today, how when you wear clothes. Well, I heard you earlier today, brother K. Judah. You was talking about how people mixing plastic, giving us fake clothes. We don't want fake stuff. The original you and the original way you speak is the way that you should speak. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad. So now in the other one, he just gave you the outlay. Now he's going into detail. Begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. You see that? So Ibar, his sons, Peleg and them, and Yakatan, they was this is their child. We gonna see how this works. Shem was 100 years old. That's Shem is their daddy. And begot Arphaxad. Remember, Shem is Africa, is African's daddy. Shem is not Hamites' brothers. Shem is not Hamites' bloodline. Africans is not Hamites' bloodline. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years and begot sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived in 30 years and begot Salah. And Arphaxad lived after he begot Salah 403 years and begot sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years and begot Abar. So now we get to Abar. You see that? And Abar had 2 sons. Remember, Yakatan and Peleg. Now watch this. And Salah lived after he begot Abar. After he begot Abar 403 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Abar lived 30 years, 34 years old, and begot Peleg. All right? And Abar lived after he begot Peleg 430 years, and begot sons and daughters. All right? So Abar lived after he begot Peleg 430 years, and begot sons and daughters. Now watch this. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Rau. Now look at this. Now we're going through the lineage of Peleg. All right? Peleg, the son of Abar, the brother, the uncle of the Africans. The uncle of the Africans through the lineage of Shem, through the line of Abar. And Peleg lived after he begot Rau 209 years. He begot sons and daughters. And Rau lived too. And so look, so now they got more sisters to choose from. Because look, Abar lived after he begot Peleg 430 years and begot sons and daughters. Look, Salah lived after he begot Eber 430 years and begot sons and daughters. See that? So they had a lot of women to choose from. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Rau. And Rau lived after he begot Peleg lived after he begot Rau 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Sons and daughters. Like Brother K. Judah was saying, sons and daughters is what keep your bloodline. And Ra'ul lived 230 years and begot Sarug. And Ra'ul lived after he begot Sarug 207 years and begot sons and daughters. And Sarug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. Remember, this is the kinfolk of Africans through bloodline. And Sarug, African Americans. And Sarug lived after he begot Nahor 200 years. Shemite Americans. And Sarug lived after he begot Nahor 200 years. You see that? This ain't Ham's bloodline. So Negroes is kin to Africans by bloodline. And Sarug lived after he begot Nahor 200 years. It begot sons and daughters. Look. Now. Abraham and the Africans is blood kindreds because they came from Sham through the lineage of Abar. Remember, Yucatan had Africa. Abraham, this is Abraham's side here. This is Haran in them side. All right? This is Nahor in them side. All right? So if we say that, we'll say this is African cousin side. This is the cousins of the African side. All right? And Terah lived 70 years. It begot Abram. Nahor. And Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So Terah had 3 sons, Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. Remember, Negro race begot Lot. Remember, this is the race that is supposed to be priests, but they say because Negroes is the sons of the devil, they can't be priests. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, northeast Africa, in Ur of the Chaldees, where black folks stay. Chaldees is a Igbo tribe. It is called Chad. The Chaldeans are a Igbo tribe. I will show you them if y'all willing. The Igbos are Chad. Let me show that real quick. Hold on, Mashpaka. All right. Family, y'all listening? I'm sorry, I didn't respond to everything. I'm finna read y'all comments when I get done. All right. Hold on. Let me look that up for you real quick. Hold on, Mashpaka. All right, family. You ready? Who is these people right here? You see, I put Chad Igbos around the world. It's a beautiful. See how? See how? These is the ones that say, oh yes, oh yes. That's our brothers and sisters right there. Igbo people. Look at here. The Igbo tradition, attire, and English meaning. Look at that. Igbo culture. Look at the Igbos. Look at the Igbo. Look, it's a tribe in Nigeria. The Igbos in Nigeria. Look at the Igbo tribe. Look at our brothers and sisters. Look at our sister right there. That's our sister, brother and sister. Look at our brother right there with the shades on. Look. Igbos in U.S. called the United Nigeria. Look at our brother with the hat on his head. Who is that right there, Mashpaka? The Igbo. All right. Now let's look up Chad. Where is that located? Chad. Now, Chad and nigger. Who is that? Chad and nigger. Chad and nigger. Who is the nigger? Right here. The Chad. That's Chad's side right there. See? Chaldeans. And look on this side right here. Nigger right there. Chad and the nigger. That's in Nigeria. Chad and Cameroon. Look. Nigeria. Chad and Cameroon. All right. So let's go back to search. Okay, look at here. I'm sorry if y'all ain't see it. But this is Chad here. That's in Nigeria. It say the foreign relations of Chad are significantly influenced by the desire for oil revenue and investment in Chaldean. Who is the Chaldeans? Chaldeans is Igbos. It said right there. Chaldeans. Chaldeans. Right there. Where do the Chaldeans live? In West Africa. Chaldeans live in West Africa. Look. That is their symbol right there. The Chaldeans. They have a lion and it looked like a goat right there. The Chaldeans. The lion and the goat. Let me see if I can get it blowed up a little bit bigger for you. Look at this. Country, Algeria. Both countries established diplomatic relations on 18th August 1975. Algeria has an embassy in N'Djamena. Chad has an embassy in Algiers. Both countries established diplomatic relations on 23rd June 2005 when Angolan ambassador to Chad with residence in Libreville, Gabon. Mr. Emilio Guerrier presented his credentials to present-day Idriss Deby. Both countries established diplomatic relations on October the 18th, 1976. Both countries established diplomatic relations on 9th February 2015, and the first ambassador of the Chaldeans to Botswana, Mr. Muhammad Bahir, presented his credentials to President Kama. Look, Cameroon. Where is Cameroon? Who is the Cameroonians? Right here. Who's the Cameroonians? The Cameroonians. Watch this. French. Remember I told y'all about the French? French. Let's go back to that. The Inquisition. The Inquisition was a judicial procedure and a group of institutions with the Catholic Church whose aim was to combat heresy. Remember heresy? Heresy denotes the format denial of doubt of core doctrine of the Christian faith, of the Christian church. Their doctrine was the curse of Ham doctrine. So who was these people that they was leaving out there for the buzzards to eat? Heretics, they say. Studies of the records have found that the overwhelming majority sentence consists of penance for convictions of unrepentant heresy. Now let's see, who is these people in here? No Israelite whom this religion was being forced on was able to come to the meeting. There was no Israelite even present in the meeting. It's a majority of sentences consisted of penance by the convictions of unrepentant heresies were handed over to the secular courts, which means people who did not follow after the Bible, and they didn't follow it either because they was pushing the curse of Ham doctrine, handed over to the secular courts, which generally resulted in the execution or life imprisonment. The Inquisition had its start in the 12th century Kingdom of France. Kingdom of France. Look at the France symbol. Remember that what they say, that the little man with the bow and arrow with the heart on it. What that look like that to me? Do it look like that to you? The Kingdom of France is the historiographical name of umbrella term given to various political entities of France at the medieval and early modern period. It was one of the most powerful states in Europe. The High Middle Ages. It was also an early colonial power with colonies in Asia. Was there Asians sent over here into slavery, or was it Negroes that was the slaves? Dominican order. Here. The Dominican order, the order of preachers, also known as the Dominican order. Dominican order, where did that come from? Is a Roman Catholic mendicant order of pontifical rights that was founded in France by Castellan priest named Dominic, Now, why, if you were scattered in the Dominican Republic, would you want to call yourself this when they say that they enslaved your ancestors because their skin was black and that they was cursed because they were sons of the devil? Look at this. The bogus. Why would you want to call yourself that if you was a Negro? Well, Christians, lay religious orders that were active in Western Europe, particularly in the Low Countries, in the 13th and the 16th centuries. When did they say slavery was really picking off in? In the 1600s. Their members lived in the semi-monastic communities, but did not take formal religious vows, although they promised not to. Look, is them black folk right there. They say black folk is Christians. Is that a black folk right there? Now, Ophir. Ophir, right here. Ophir is a port or region mentioned in the Bible, famous for its wealth. Its existence is attested to by an inscription pottery shard found at Tel Kusil in 1946, dating to the 8th century BC, before Messiah came, which reads gold of Ophir. Look, at Bethron, 30 shekels. The location of Ophir is, they say, unknown. Watch this. The part of the African continent, Algeria, is Africa's largest country by area, and Nigeria, it is largest population. African nations cooperate. Look at that. Now, let me look up Hebrew translation of Africa in the Zondervan Bible. Bible Hub. All right. Now, Ophir. Is found in First Kings as well. Ophir. Let's go to King James Bible. Let's go to the lexicon. All right. Let me go back. Let's go back. Go back again. What verse that is? First Kings 10. First Kings 10, 11. All right, so it's verse 11. All right. Verse 11. All right. Ophir. from Ophir, Ma'aparaya, uh, Apar, the son of Yakatan, also his descendants, also a region from which gold comes. Let's look up where gold come from. But let me look it up. Africa in the Bible. All right. Africa in the Bible. All right. Mm. All right. Amana will help me through this. All right. Trying to get it where it's more clear. He said, right here, the word Ophir. What number is that? Ophir. What number is Ophir? All right. All right, here we go. Now look. Proper name Ophir. The proper name masculine, Yakatan. A proper name of location. So now they say they don't know the duration. I looked on here before and they showed it before. So let me look up this word right here on Google. A country of uncertain location, possibly southern Arabia or the eastern coast of Africa, from which gold and precious stones and trees were brought for Solomon. Ophir is a port or region mentioned in the Bible, famous for wealth. Its existence is attested to by an inscribed pottery. Now they say they don't know where it is. They said possibly southern Arabia or the eastern coast. Now, let me show you the Gold Coast. As you can see that, I'm going to show you the Gold Coast. So hold on. Land in Africa. There is gold. Gold is mainly found in several countries in Africa. The largest, I thought they didn't know where it was. The largest sources of gold in Africa are Ghana, South Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Sudan. So where did Solomon go to get his gold? Where does gold come from in West Africa? Not all the African kingdoms value gold, and most of the gold jewelry of West Africa comes from two broad zones: the Arid Sahel, which extends from Senegal to Mali and Niger. In Africa, there is gold. Top countries with largest gold reserves: Algeria, South Africa, Libya, Egypt. Spectacular gold treasures of ancient Africa revealed. Of ancient Africa revealed. Of ancient Africa revealed. Negro land. Negro land. In the English language, the word Negro is a term historically used to denote persons considered to be black African heritage. The word Negro means the color black in both Spanish and Portuguese, where English took its form. Where English took its form. The term can be construed as offensive and offensive. Now, let me show you something. And then I'm finna get back to the Bible and show you what I promised to show you. So, right here, they said Portuguese and the Spain. So let's look them up. Slavery in Spain can be traced. Let me click in that. Slavery in Spain can be traced to the Phoenician and Roman areas. Slavery in Spain can be traced to the Phoenician and Roman eras. Phoenician, the Canaanite, and Roman eras. In the 19th century, the Muslim, Moorish black rulers and local Jewish merchants traded in Spanish and Eastern European Christian slaves. Spanish and Eastern European Christian slaves. Jewish-ish merchants traded in Spanish and Eastern European Christian slaves. Spain began to trade slaves in the 15th century, and this trade reached its peak in the 16th century. The history of Spanish enslavement of Africans began with the Portuguese captains Antio Goncalves and Nuno Tristão in 1441. The first large group of African slaves made up of 235 slaves came with Lencarte de Fratias 3 years later. In 1462, Portuguese slaves traders began to operate in Seville, Spain. During the 1470s, Spanish merchants began to trade large number of slaves, not ish people. They didn't want enslaving those who are say they are Jews. They was enslaving people that they called niggers. Slaves were auctioned at market at cathedral and subsequently were transported to cities all over imperial Spain. This led to the spread of the Moorish, African, and Christian slavery in Spain. The black, African, and Christian slavery in Spain. By the 16th century, 7.4% of the population in Seville, Spain, were slaves. Many historians have concluded that the Renaissance, early modern Spain, had to do with slavery. Spain had the highest amount of African slaves in Europe after the discovery of the New World, after the discovery of the place that they call America that they did not discover, but it was people already over here. The Spanish colonists decided to use it for commercial production and mining because the absence of trading networks, the Native Americans population was used for their labor, but they died in large numbers as a result of war, disease, exploitation, and social disruptions. Meanwhile, the need for labor was expanded. So they came over here and murdered the Lincadas and all of them. They was murdering them left and backward, such as the production of sugarcane. The problem of the justness of the Native American, the original people that was over here, in what they call Indian slavery, was a key issue for Spanish crown, for the Spanish crown, not for them. But Bartolomé de la Casa was concerned about the fate of the natives and argued in 1516 that white and black slaves should be imported to the Indies to replace the Armadians. And African slaves did have certain advantages over native slaves as being resistant to European diseases and more familiar with the agricultural technologies. This preference led to the development of the Atlantic, which means the Cushite slave trade, which means the nigger slave trade. It was Charles V. who gave a definite answer this complication, delicate matter to the end. The November 25th, 1542, the Imperial abolished the enslavement of natives by decree in the Ley Nevias new law. So they abolished the slavery of the people that was already over here before they brought Negroes. This bill was based on the argument, that's 1542, given by best Spanish theologians and jurists who were anonymous of the condemnation of such slavery as unjust. They declared it illegitimate and outlawed it from America, not just for slavery of Spaniards over Indians, over Native Americans, but also the type of slavery practiced among the native themselves. They was enslaving people too. The labor system of the Enocomedia was abolished in the 1550s, but Negroes were still slaves. However, these laws did not end the practice of slavery or forced labor immediate. A new system began to be used in Repartimiento and Metia, in Peru. Eventually, this system too was abolished due to abuses. It was not abolished. By the 17th century, forced indigenous labor continued illegally and black slaves labor legally. So it was illegal to enslave one of the people that was already over here, but it was still legal to enslave Negro people who they took from Israel prior to 1492, and also from the middle of the east and from south. They took us from all of these places and put us on the slave port, and they said, nice waida, nice Judean slaves for sale, nice lamb slaves for sale. Spain consisted of several different nations, different categories of people. So Spain did not just have white folk in there. They had Negroes in Spain, consisted of several different nations. Different categories of people were enslaved in each. And slavery was conducted under different regulations. So they had chattel slavery and they had indentured servitude. These slaves were used for services and employment in various ways, such as employment, so there was people looking for a job, and domestics, artisans, and assistants of all kinds. Negroes did not want to come over here and be no slave. In the time frame of Roman times to the Middle Ages, the percentage of slaves population was minimal. Slaves probably made up less than 1% of the population in Spain. So remember, they say when the Romans was ruling, slavery was like up to like 1%, right? But after the temple was destroyed, that's when slavery started taking off. Slavery was cross-cultural and remember, they said it was an argument for 2,000 years. So after Messiah had passed in 70 AD, these people came down there enslaving Negroes. And it really started picking up in the 1600s. So they was enslaving Negroes throughout the 14 AD. Slavery was cross-cultural and multi-ethnic. In addition to that, when they say slavery was cross-cultural and multi-ethnic, they was talking about indentured servitude. Slavery played an important role in the development of the economic for Spain and other countries. But chattel slavery built all the wealth of all the nations for free, for no payment. The idea that slavery was based on race was and continues to be one of the biggest misconceptions slavery in Spain. Philip, now let's see, why was they enslaving black folk? All right. The history of slavery spans many cultures and nationalities and religions from ancient times to the present day. Likewise, no. Its victims have come from many different ethnicities and religious groups. You look, they trying to justify it. The social, economic, and legal positions of enslaved people have different facilities and different systems of slavery. The 13th Amendment, they said slavery was done away with. Look at this. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution abolishes slavery of involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime. The amendment was passed by the Senate on April 8, 1864, and the House Representatives of January 31st, 1865. So they said that slavery was eradicated in the 1500s, but look, it is still going on today. It has never been abolished. It has never been abolished. If one of your brothers and sisters is a slave, the scripture said that you are to see yourself as a slave if your brother or your sister is in slavery, if yourself as in the bonds, as also if your brother is in bonds, you also ought to see yourself as in bondage, in slavery. So when they say they're not a slave, they hate their brother. Slavery is the ownership of a person as a property, especially in regards to their labor. Slavery typically involves compulsory work with slave auction. Slave. Who is this right here? That man right there was a United States soldier. He fought in that war that they talking about. He was a soldier. He was a Negro soldier. I believe Will Smith did a movie on him. It says slavery is the ownership of a person as property, especially in regards to their labor. So in prison, they give cheap and free labor. Slavery typically involves compulsory work with the slave's location of work and residence dedicated by the parties that hold them in bondage. So as long as they holding us over here in these lands, we are still slaves. Enslavement is the placement of a person into slavery, and the person is called a slave or an enslaved person. Many historical cases of enslavement occurs as a result of a breaking of the law, become indebted, suffering a military defeat. That's why they said they brought Africans over here in all of the nations as slaves, because they were captives of war captives. Cheaper labor and forms of slavery were instituted. So cheap labor is slavery, along with demographic lines. So when they make sure that you gonna stay poor, when they make laws to make sure you poor, Sister Christina Wise Society did a video about poverty, how rules is set up in order to enslave you. So any if a person say they want you to be free, but they making laws that make you bound, that person is telling you what's in their heart. And most countries of the world accept as punishment for a crime. So in most countries, it is accepted as punishment for a crime. But it is now outlawed in most countries of the world. No, it is not outlawed in most countries of the world. Let's see why. Let's see why slavery is not outlawed. Because they still hold the people of Yah as they property. They still holding them there. And if they go back to Africa, it's still other people living in their land of inheritance, so they have no place to rest their foot. So Jacob is still enslaved to poverty because they have no country of their own that they can claim for themselves, because it's people who say they are Yahudim, but they are not, living in the land that belongs to people who were taken as property, as people that is said to not to be able to have a country of inheritance. But even the beasts of the field have the wilderness as their country as of an inheritance. Even the beasts in the ocean have countries of have places where they can be free in. But Negroes are in places where their ancestors was enslaved. Amen. So Negroes are still slaves today. No matter what Shuck and Jive, Hop and Bob, Hammer Knocker say that we are not enslaved, Negroes are still in slavery today because of the rules of knowing how you as a slave. When a person take your property from you because they say you owe them a debt, they say that Negroes they said that Negroes was being put in slavery because they sinned against Yah, because they rejected Roman Catholic beliefs. But Roman Catholic beliefs did not believe that Israelites should be free. because Negroes were enslaved, they said, because they were black folk. Negroes were enslaved because they said their skin was black. But what did they do in order to make Negroes their permanent property? Now, do you remember what I showed you about the story about Baal? Balaam. I wasn't able to finish Balaam and the donkey. But we're going to see if we're going to do that today. All right. View chapter. All right, let's let it read, family. And I'm finna take me a break.
Numbers 24. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not, as at other times, to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents according to their tribes. And the Spirit of God came upon him. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open, how goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, and thy tabernacles, O Israel. As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the river's side, as the trees of lign aloes which the Lord hath planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrows. He couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that curseth thee. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam. And he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I called thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore now flee thou to thy place. I thought to promote thee unto great honour, but lo, the Lord hath kept thee back from honour. And Balaam said unto Balak, Spake I not also to thy messengers which thou sentest unto me, saying, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of the Lord, to do either good or bad of mine own mind. But what the Lord saith, that will I speak. And now behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open.
Listen,
I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession, Sire also shall be a possession for his enemies. And Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish for ever. And he looked on the Kenites, and took up his parable, and said, Strong is thy dwelling place, and thou puttest thy nest in a rock. Nevertheless, the Kenites shall be wasted, until Asshur shall carry thee away captive. And he took up his parable and said, Alas, who shall live when God doeth this? And ships shall come from the coast of Chittim, and shall afflict Asshur, and shall afflict Eber, and he also shall perish for ever. And Balaam rose up, and went, and returned to his place. And Balak also went his way.
So you see, that's why people was enslaved. They was not up there enslaving European people. The Bible said that it was enslaving Igbos, Hebrew people. They was not enslaving everybody with the same slavery. Some people work as free slaves. Some people work as indentured servants, which means they had a year of jubilee. They had a year when they finished slavery. Excuse me. But Negroes were made to be perpetual slaves, even now till this day. As long as your brothers, if you was a free slave, as long as some of your brothers is still locked up inside a prison, doing free slave labor, locked up, as long as some of your brothers is held captive inside of these places, you are not free. It don't matter if you stay in Portugal and your brothers and sisters is enslaved in America. If they say there is no more slavery in Portugal, if your brothers and sisters is enslaved in America, then you are still a slave if you going by the Bible. Because the scriptures say, suffer with your brother as in the bonds with your brother. If you live in America and they say they abolished slavery, there is no more slavery in America, which is a big bold-faced lie. If you stay in Europe and they still got slavery going on in one of the countries over there, and they say everybody free in America, so that means no Negroes is in slavery no more. That means Negroes is free. No, Negroes is not free. Everywhere where a brother is, or a sister or a child is still in slavery, that means that every last one of us is still a slave. Malcolm X said the day that we realize that when one brother is hurting, that means all of us is hurting. That's when we gonna understand how to get through this thing. The scriptures say you got to love your brother like you love yourself. Suffer with your brother as you yourself is also in the bonds. So if my brother is a slave inside of the system, I too am a slave. No matter how free I can boast and say that I am. If my sister is still a slave in the plantation, that means that I too am a slave. It don't matter if they say that everybody is free now. If all of the states in America say they're going to abolish that thing and people is not going to be put into slavery, if they go to prison, they're not going to be calling you Nigger in your face, because now you is considered as worthless now, even though you still consider that in a lot of sense, in a lot of instances. When they put you behind them bars, they call you all out your name. They don't care. They call you all out your name. They will call you out your name. Ask some of the brothers that done been inside of prison and that's out now. Ask them, is slavery still real? Ask them. Ask them. Do they call you out your name in there? Ask them, can you say I got rights in there? Ask them what the hot box is. Ask them what the Cadillac is in there. It ain't riding on 4-4s and tipping on 4-4s up in there. The Cadillac is not no riding and tipping on no 4-4. Ask the people who was enslaved. Ask the people who is your brothers and your sisters, that a lot of people say that there's no more slavery, but your brother and your sister is in slavery. Even your country is held captive. If your country is held as the property of somebody else, then you also are that person. They holding you as property. If your country is held as the property of somebody else, then you also are held as the property of that person because your country belongs to you. Help me, Yahweh. Help me, Yahweh. If your country, hallelujah, thank you for that revelation, Father. If your country is in the possession of somebody else, then you are somebody else's property right now. Do you owe that person money so you can pay them back? Or do the nations owe you money for free labor? What transgression did you do against them? But the real question is, what transgression did you do towards Yah? Because somebody owes somebody. We owe Yah, but we don't owe them. We gave them free labor by force. So why is Haiti paying slave masters for reparations? Why is Haiti paying slave masters for reparation? Your history is held captive. Yahushua said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. If you want to be able to reach the Father, you got to go through Yahushua. If you need help, you're going to have to go through Yahushua. Without Yahushua, he ain't going to hear you. Without Yahushua, you ain't going to get no help from this slavery. Without Yahushua, you who are held as the property of other people because they hold your country as your if they take all of your possession, hold it as property, they got your country, it's yours. Your ancestors' dust is all in the sand over there. They holding your ancestors as property. Your country belongs to you. So they holding us as property. Remember that. Remember that. When you put your ancestors in the ground, when you put your family members, when your family died in the countries where you at, who is the ruling class in this country? Who do you pay to bury your loved ones? Do they still own the dust of your ancestors? If you pick up the dust and take it back over there, people will still be saying, this is our country, whites only. What place on earth is yours? If you are free, you have stuff that you can claim as yours. If you can't claim your country as yours, then you are still the property of the people who hold your country. We are still slaves. If you think you're not free, go just get on the boat, just go across the water and don't pay nobody nothing. Just get on the boat, just go. You should be able to go wherever you want to go if you're free. A child in your house should not have to pay to go from one room to the next room. You pay tribute to your captives. You pay tribute to your captors because you are not free. You are held under the customs and laws of where you are. And when you try to move from under that, if they don't agree with you moving from under it, you find controversy because the ruling class does not want you to hold to yours, because holding to yours means that they lose power. So when the Black Panthers was trying to feed the sick and the hungry of the Israelites, then they said that he's breaking. Then they were saying he breaking a law because it was going against the status quo. When Tupac was building thug mansions so that people could have a place to lay their head, what happened? So all what I'm trying to tell you, Mashpaka, you got to know what situation you in. And you got to pray to Yah with your whole heart and tell him about what we did as a nation, as a people. Repent of our sin. Stop worrying about the other nation. You better call on Yah for yourself. If they call on Yah, then they call on Yah. But you need to call on Yah for yourself. If they all call on Yah and you don't call on Yah, the children of the kingdom will be cast out and they will be brought in. But you will lose your place in your salvation, worrying about other folk. We need to call on Yah for ourselves. We need to try to come together in love and repentance ourselves. And then we could look around. Once your children is fed, then you can feed other folk. Just like they do. Shalom, Mashpaka, I got to go. But I said that I was going to share with you one more thing. I'm trying to remember what that was. If any of y'all can remember what I said I was going to share, can you please post it in the chat? Hopefully I already shared it. But whatever I don't remember, family, I'm going to pray and ask y'all to forgive me for my lack of knowledge. Y'all help me, forgive me if I have missed out on anything that I was trying to bring out, Father. I'm not on here trying to lie. I'm doing my best to tell our people the truth, Father, because I want us to go home. I want to go home. And I want you to help us, Father, y'all, so we can go home. In your precious son, Yahushua, help us, Father, y'all, to be able to call on your name, whether if we're in prison or whether we is on the plantation outside of the bars, whether we in prison blocks in the inside, or whether we in blocks on the outside, whether we on blocks on the outside, J block, Avenue I block, whether we on blocks on the outside, or whether we in blocks in the inside. Help us, Father Yah, to be able to call on your name. Give us the grace that we need to be able to be saved from all of this stuff that we going through as a people. In your precious son, Yahushua name, Amen. If you can't save us, Yahweh, then we ain't going to be saved. If you can't help us, Yahweh, then we ain't going to never be helped. If you can't do it, then there is no hope. If you is not upon your throne, then we are ever to be bound in the property of other people and for them to have us and our possessions as their property. And the year of Jubilee laws will never apply. But Yah, since you are sitting on your throne, I know that you are a faithful Elohim and will perform justice upon this earth. Have mercy on your people. Hear us when we call upon your holy name, Yahweh, in the name of your only begotten Son, Yahushua. Amen and Amen and Amen. Help us with our frailties. Help us, Yah. Help us with our flesh and your only begotten Son. If we fall, Father Yah, please teach us to get up. Not to do like Judas Iscariot did. When we feel like you can't hear us, when we going through hardship, when we have strongholds, when we have things we dealing with, we need you, Yahweh. We don't want you to give up on us as a people. We know that there are strongholds and burdens upon our people. We know that, Father, a lot of us is hungry, and that's why some of us is locked up inside of jail, because we took bread, because we was hungry, starving. Our stomach hurt, Father. Our eyes hurt, Father. When we see our people suffering, our hearts yearn, Yahweh, for our people to be well. Father, Yah, help us in the name of your only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and your only begotten Son, Yahweh. Hear our prayer, hear our cry, and your only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, Sham, Aman, and Aman, and Aman, and Aman, and Aman, Abanawa, Yahweh, Aman, and Aman.